how we need to approach Donald Trump. How the hell is he approaching us?
Michael Steele puts on a clinic on Morning Joe on what happens when you get off of the narrative.
Joe, you had your moment. Let me just finish the point.
I know, but
I get
tell
that.
us something we don't know.
Well, I'm telling you something that you seem to forget. And
I don't
so let me make my point. You may not like it, but I'm going to make it.
There's sort of an unstated narrative on almost all of these shows, and he busted right through it.
I take your civility argument, and you like to say 78 million people voted for Donald Trump. Well, 82 million people voted for Joe Biden.
Right.
And he didn't get that civility that you're talking about from Donald Trump in those 4 years.
Right.
So now the expectation is, because he's won again and he got 78 million people, we all got to be civil to Donald Trump. Well, okay, I'm prepared to be civil.
Nobody said that.
You did.
No, I didn't say that.
Predictable interruption, which this is debate tactic. When someone is on a roll and you want to break their stride, you start interrupting them and talking over them. This happens all the time, like I said, on so many shows, particularly Fox, but certainly elsewhere.
I didn't say everybody has to be civil.
The reality of it is,
Now, Joe says that Michael Steele is setting up false choices, which really is translation for you're saying something I really don't want to hear, and I'm going to talk over you so that the audience cannot hear it. Now, keep in mind, the backstory here is that Morning Joe's ratings have plummeted since their little visit to Mar-a-Lago, after they spent years throwing Trump under the bus, and then finally, of course, giving in to him. So part of why this is such a rich moment is that backstory.
You're using the term civil. I've never used that term. I'm using your term. You put civility on the table.
You said we all have to be civil. There is a pushback that you have to have.
But Joe,
I'm just talking about Barack Obama.
That's a really silly comment there by Joe to say, I just want to talk about Barack Obama sitting next to him. Keep it very light and meaningless.
Just saying, but I'm saying I'm not fine. I'm not talking about that. My main point is everybody's looking at this from a one-way perspective. How we need to approach Donald Trump. How the hell is he approaching us?
And boom.
Yeah.
Right? The man wants to lock up citizens. The man wants to turn the government against him. How are we to respond to that? Are we supposed to be civil?
Michael, do you think we don't know that?
Doesn't seem like it.
Notice how Joe and Mika are speechless. They don't really give an answer to that question. How are we supposed to react when Donald Trump does crazy stuff? We don't get an answer. Do you think we don't know that is not really an answer?
Why do you feel the need to create false choices?
I'm not creating a false choice. I'm using your words.
You have created.
I'm using you. You put civility on the table.
My words.
You're twisting my words is classic chaff redirect. That's a complete redirect of the conversation because Joe doesn't want to answer that question. Because if you answer that question, you have to criticize Donald Trump. And Joe is scared of criticizing Donald Trump. It's as simple as that.
My words. You took me saying that it's not the end of the world, that Barack Obama smiled and talked to Donald Trump, and you're turning that into that we have no idea what's before us.
I'm not.
You will play very well today on Blue Sky and Threads and X. Congratulations.
I'm not.
Talk about living rent-free in somebody's head. He's already thinking about what's going to be on Blue Sky and Threads and not answering the question. Again, the entire thing is a real lesson in never dealing with what it is that Michael Steele is actually saying, which is, how do we deal with Trump? You never get an answer to that. Very fascinating segment here. And it's also what happens when these shows plan out these segments. This is what we're going to talk about. And anytime you have somebody in the conversation that introduces new logic to it, everybody falls apart and panics. It's amazing how that happens. This is Lauren Burke, and I'll be back soon. And if I'm not on TikTok, I'll be on YouTube.